A man broke into a pet store, was arrested with hamsters in his pants.
Tony Kornheiser. How many? My record is 6. How many did he have?
What year approximately was that record set, Tony? Your record.
Well, my
Long
really
ago,
good
Scott.
years were the 60s and 70s. So probably sometime in the 60s.
what I was afraid of.
Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. Wilbon has the day off, so I'm joined by our great friend, the host of the podcast, Pablo Torre Finds Out, Mr. Pablo Torre. He should probably find out how many hamsters he can get in his pants. And we begin today with Wimbledon. The men's final is set. Defending champion Carlos Alcaraz lost the first set to Daniil Medvedev, then won the next 3 in a row, and so earned the right to meet Novak Djokovic, who probably had to work a little harder than he thought to beat the 25 seed Lorenzo Musetti in 3 sets, the first 2 of which were quite close. Pablo Alcaraz beat Djokovic in last year's Wimbledon final. Who would you rather see win this year's final?
Tony, I like Alcaraz more. I want Djokovic to win because I root for the story. I may not write anymore. Neither of us do very much. But the story here is Djokovic. The story here is a guy who on June 5th was not projected to be playing at Wimbledon at all. He had another leg thing. He has, of course, been now the elder statesman of the game after trying to engineer a popularity that was never granted to him, as he was reminded when he was booed while playing Holger Rune earlier in the tournament. So to me, as much as Alcaraz is the most singular athlete I've seen play tennis, Djokovic and the psychoanalysis of a guy who is pushing the sun back into the sky, as they say, to give us one more day of summer. That dude staying on is incredible, especially if he wins in this final.
Absolutely no argument here. As a guy who wrote a column, I understand that the column today is Djokovic. It is not Alcaraz. He is not the story today. I watched almost all of this match, and people who watch this show know I do not like Djokovic. I do not root for him. In fact, I root against him. I think he's obnoxious. But let me give him all the credit that is due him. This is a guy who a month ago had surgery. He's playing a much younger opponent who is trying to run him all around the court to take advantage of what might be a bad knee. And at every important juncture in that match, every single one, Djokovic prevailed. We'll start in the first set when Musetti got it to 4-5 on a break and took the ball to serve, and right back at him, Djokovic broke him and won the set. In the second set, Musetti got it to the tiebreak, and Djokovic won it handily, 7-2. The very first game of the third set, Djokovic broke Musetti. The very last game of the match, he was down love 30 and at one point faced a break point, and he won. Okay, he won every important moment. Look, I believe that had Musetti won, that would have been an all-time upset, Pablo, because you got the 25th seed beating the 2 seed. You've got a guy who just was in a 5-setter with Taylor Fritz against the guy who had a walkover and is completely rested and all of that. You got a guy who never won anything that we know of against a guy who's got 7 Wimbledons, and it's to go for the final. It would have been amazing, but didn't happen. Djokovic denied it.
And he gets to face the guy that Djokovic has called the best 21-year-old the sport has ever seen. So to give a few flowers to Alcaraz, why I'm so excited for this contrast, Alcaraz is a sort of athlete, Tony, where you don't need to know anything about tennis to appreciate that this guy has something to him that you just don't see in this sport otherwise. And so I expect Alcaraz to be obvious. He already is the heir to the big 3. He is the guy who's going to carry the next generation on with Sinner and all that into the future.
There's Sinner too. Yeah, there's Sinner too.
Yes, exactly right, exactly right. But I just don't want to see it yet. I want to see the old guy hang on, and I want to see Djokovic say something to the crowd at Wimbledon that, again, does not like him either, much like most of the world at this point.
They did not boo him today, but the crowd was 90% behind Musetti. 90%. No question about that.
But let's move to baseball, Tony, because the Phillies just swept 3 from the Dodgers, and Trey Turner hit his 6th home run in his last 9 games to put the Phils in front in the first inning, and that was about that. Aaron Nola got his 11th win of the season. The Phillies now have 61 wins to the Dodgers 55. So, Tony, are you confident that Philly actually has the better team?
Okay, the word that makes me a little bit nervous is the word confident. There's no question in my mind that Philadelphia right now is better than Los Angeles. They just swept them. They're better, but this is just July. Over the last 2 years, I've sat on the show and I've said that I think the Philadelphia lineup 1 through 9 is the best in baseball. 1 through 9, they hit. They got Nola, they got Wheeler, they got Suarez. They can pitch. They were the first team to win 60 and now the first team to win 61, and their record against teams with a winning record is 23-13, which is the best in baseball. And Pablo, I believe that a pitcher would be almost as frightened to face Schwarber and Harper as he would be to face Ohtani and Freeman. But it's July. What if the Dodgers pitchers get better? What if all these guys, what if Kershaw and Yamamoto and Buehler, who's been hurt this year as well as last year, and Glasnow, they're shutout pitchers. So I don't want to get too far ahead of myself.
Tony, if I am a member of the Philadelphia Phillies right now watching this show in the clubhouse, I am so mad. I am so mad at you. Because what else can you do? It's not their fault, right? What you're saying is that this is a question about how much the regular season informs your playoff predictions. And of course, the baseball postseason is increasingly a roulette game, right? It's a lottery. We don't know what's going to happen.
Yes,
It's more unpredictable than ever.
It's hard.
But right now,
it's hard.
Yes, but right now the Phillies, as a staff, as a pitching staff, 3.2 ERA, the Dodgers 3.7. The Phillies plus 33 compared to the Dodgers. It's just not close. There's nothing the Phillies have shown us other than they're the best.
There's no argument. I have no argument with you. The Braves are a really good team. The Dodgers are a really good team. The Phillies are 6.5 ahead of the Dodgers and 9.5 ahead of the Braves. They're the best team in baseball. But when you ask me how confident I am about this, it's a long season. That's my point. It's a long season. I don't know.
Right. But the Phillies, what they are doing. So just to dig into the math of this, right? Sometimes in the regular season, you make a pick for the postseason based on the smoke and mirrors of win-loss record as opposed to the underlying numbers. The Phillies, the fundamentals of the Phillies economy, Tony, as they say, are really strong. They're projected based on runs scored, runs given up at about 60 and 33. They're 61 and 32 in reality. I can't conjure a reason outside of the fundamental reality you expressed accurately, which is, can you really feel confident in any pick heading into the postseason in the era of 3 wild cards? Probably not.
So, yeah. Let's stay with baseball then, because you're really jacked up about it. The Mets were the joke of the sport last year, so they dumped salaries and their manager and settled into this year without any particular hope. But over a month ago, the Mets called a players-only meeting to discuss exactly how bad they were, and since then, they are not bad at all. They are 25-12 since that meeting. They just swept the Nats, and if the playoffs started today, the Mets would have a wild card. Pablo, you live in New York City. Do we need to start taking the Mets seriously?
We do, because I want to tell you about Jorge Lopez, Tony. Jorge Lopez was the reliever for the Mets, no longer a reliever for the Mets, who threw his glove into the stands at the end of May, and he said, allegedly, quote, he's playing for the worst bleeping team in MLB, the Mets. The Mets DFA'd him the next day. The Mets, since the end of May, have leapfrogged 7 teams in the standings, okay? They were about 11 games under 500. Now they're 3 games over 500. I am so impressed by a team afflicted by the terminal condition you know quite well that it's called being the Mets. They've overcome it to this point. It's incredibly impressive.
I'm a Nats fan. Everybody knows that. The Nats have played the Mets, I think, 7 times in the last week and a half. The Mets are 5-2. The Mets swept the Nats in a series in June, so they're 8-2 against the Nats. Now, although I love the Nats, if you're 8-2 against the Nats, it doesn't mean you know how to split the atom. It's really not that hard. But even if you throw out those games, then the Mets are still 17-10 on this streak, and that we would call restaurant quality. So I think you have to pay attention. Their problem, Pablo, is they're in the division with Philadelphia and Atlanta, and they're not nearly as good as them. But they are a lovely little story right now, and here's why. The owner spent all kinds of money last year and was humiliated by the terrible results. I think it's great that he did not double down on the money. He did not do that at all. He licked his wounds. He retreated a little bit, and he said, we're going to go with the core group that we've got. Let's try not to embarrass ourselves, and let's go out there. And he got a new manager, and it's working. And it's working without the attendant publicity of spending $1 billion.
Right. I now hesitate to predict that Steve Cohen, the owner in question, who spent more money than anybody ever has in the history of baseball on his team, has learned a meaningful lesson here, because I believe that next season, the goal now is to all right, let's reinvest. But Tony, I just wonder, now that you mentioned how much you've seen of the Mets, how does it feel all the way down there in the NL East? How does it feel watching the Nats these days?
It's a great thrill until the game starts. Oh, actually, until any relievers come in. The Nats haven't hit. They haven't pitched. They were doing pretty well for a while, and now, tough. Let's take a break, but I'm used to it because I grew up as a Mets fan. Let's take a break. But coming up, the Yankees and Orioles start a 3-game series tonight. Who needs that one more?
And which soccer player, Tony, is more worthy of our attention on Sunday? Lionel Messi or Lamine Yamal?
It's tough. The Djokovic thing is tough because he just rose to every moment, and you have to think he's going to win the final. Time to make quick work of Pablo and toss up, I hope. What's first?
Toss up, who needs this 3-game series more, the Yankees or the Orioles?
So let me answer a question by posing a question. Did the Orioles GM, Mike Elias, Mike Elias, did he fly in to see the Orioles in a series lately? I don't think so. I think Brian Cashman of the Yankees has done that.
Yeah.
The Orioles are a very good young team in need of starting pitching. The Cubs destroyed them. They swept them and they outscored them 21-2. But Pablo, the Orioles are still 2 games ahead of the Yankees. So if they fall, they have a soft cushion to fall on. The Yankees have no such cushion. The Yankees missed the playoffs last year, and they have lost their last 8 series. At the moment, the Yankees are on the side of the road waiting for a tow truck. The Yankees need the series more.
Tony, the Yankees have lost 18 of 25. Okay? I wish I could be in any way optimistic and even resentful of the Orioles, but I see the dog behind you, of course, on your painting. I feel like a dog who's like watching fireworks. I'm disoriented. I'm afraid. I want to run for my owner, actually. I want help. Shield me. And I need the Steinbrenners to make investments. I need to do all the things the Yankees normally do in times of crisis to spend. But right now, as you say, when Brian Cashman is flying in to babysit, we're panicking. We're freaked out because you're right. This has been a binary proposition from the beginning. You win the World Series after the worst season in 31 years last season, or it feels like failure. And right now, looking up at the Orioles feels like failure.
Well, I think it is fair to say that losing 8 straight series is failure. That's a lot. When you had the best record in baseball
use this
for a while,
series, yes.
To lose 8 straight is
the Orioles. The Orioles.
Next.
Toss up, which soccer player are you more interested in watching this weekend? 37-year-old Lionel Messi or 16-year-old Lamine Yamal?
All right, I'm very old. I think that's been well established. And when I think of being 16, I think of someone being in high school and worrying about getting a driver's license, not worrying whether he can win the Euros by himself. I'm sure this is a very sweet kid, but he's got lots of time down the road. And not only that, and I have to concede this, I'm rooting for England because they haven't won anything important in close to 60 years. So my answer here is Messi. I believe that Messi is the most important athlete in the world right now. I am stunned by what he has done for the MLS and the adoration that follows him wherever he goes. And I feel this. I mean, he is 37, which is nowhere near my age, but it's old for soccer. And so you don't really know, if you check in on a game, you don't really know that might be his last game. So I am more partial to Messi. I am.
Yeah, but the Messi thing, Tony, is why I pick Yamal here. Because Yamal, there's a photo that I hope we can show. There's a photo of a baby Yamal in a basin.
Oh, yeah.
Almost literally being baptized by Leo Messi when Messi had just joined Barcelona. So for those who are not familiar, Yamal is at Barcelona. Yamal, again, is about to turn 17. He is 16 right now, on the verge, right? So that photograph, Tony, I took art history in high school, enough to recognize that is a Renaissance painting. That is a man in white, like a priestly frock Messi is wearing, baptizing the next Messiah. It's an incredible thing. It's like that photo of a 16-year-old Bill Clinton shaking hands with President John F. Kennedy. If you recall that photograph, how did these men get into the same place so far apart in age, but so close together when it comes to the cosmic history that interweaves them? It's an amazing artifact. Yamal, because of Messi, is my answer.
That's just a great explanation, too. I really like the way you did that. I should point out that Wilbon ripped Messi for years and years, said Ronaldo was much better. And then Messi won the World Cup and Wilbon backed away and is not on the show. That's it. Nice try, Sloppy. Let's take one last break. Still to come, something happened with Paul Skeens that someone on this show has been calling for.
I can imagine who. And Zach Edey returns to the court in Summer League tonight. What should we expect?
It's sort of like a picture of you and me. That I came to your school when you were in 6th grade and talked about being a sports writer. But I didn't actually do that.
But I do feel like I'm in a dunk tank.
I
I do feel like I'm being dunked in water every time I come on.
Happy time, people. Happy 25th birthday, Deron Bland. The Cowboys' defensive back led the NFL last season with 9 interceptions and set an NFL record by returning 5 of them for touchdowns. Those 5 interceptions covered 199 yards of return. There was a 22-yard pick six, 2 30-yard pick sixes, a 54, and a 63. Talk about spotting a diamond in the rough. Bland was a 5th-round draft pick out of Fresno State. Started 8 games as a rookie and had 5 interceptions. Bland was first-team All-Pro this past season. And look, Pablo, we've gotten through a story on the Cowboys without talking about Dak Prescott's contract.
You know, as much as that's true, you're talking about a day 2 draft pick who is currently wildly undervalued because he's on a rookie contract who, upon realizing his true economic potential, will probably cause a headache for Jerry Jones. Kind of sounds like Dak Prescott just a couple years from now.
Happy anniversary, Pete Alonso. On this day 3 years ago, the Mets slugger won his 2nd straight home run derby contest. Alonso will compete in the home run derby again this year and will also be the Mets' lone representative in the All-Star game. There is some murkiness here, as Alonso was selected over Francisco Lindor and Brandon Nimmo, who have comparable stats to Alonso and in some cases better stats. Alonso's batting .243 with 18 home runs and 49 RBI. Lindor and Nimmo have 16 home runs each. Nimmo has 62 RBI. Lindor is batting .249, Nimmo .252, plus Nimmo has a higher OPS than Alonso. But my feeling, Pablo, is that Alonso is the bigger draw.
No, that's it. This is a case study in the All-Star Game as entertainment product. And Ken Rosenthal reported that Alonso said, hey, if you want me, the back-to-back Derby champ, you got to make me an at-large pick for the actual All-Star Game, which means there are only 5 of those picks, which means it wasn't going to Nimmo, not the other Mets. So, yeah, Pete got the privilege of being a bigger draw almost exactly.
A melancholy trails to Monty Kiffin. The longtime defensive coordinator died Thursday at the age of 84. Teaming with head coach Tony Dungy, Kiffin is credited with building the Tampa 2 defense that helped the Buccaneers win the Super Bowl in 2002. In all, Kiffin spent 13 years as defensive coordinator of the Bucs and more than 50 years coaching in the NFL and college. He spent his later years working for his son Lane Kiffin at Tennessee, USC, Florida Atlantic, and Ole Miss. And yesterday, Lane Kiffin tweeted out photos of the 2 of them together with the caption, "My hero."
Tony, you mentioned Tampa 2. I just want to clarify for people who don't know about this thing. It's the bend but not break defense where you play cover 2, drop a middle linebacker into cover 3 to defend the deep pass. It snuffed out so many comebacks. It was installed 50 years ago. It is an innovation that has lasted 5 decades. That's how brilliant Monty Kiffin was. He's relevant into eternity because teams are still stealing his ideas even as the NFL gets more schematically advanced and sophisticated.
One omission, Pablo. Jalen Brunson has agreed to a new 4-year extension with the Knicks that was reportedly less money than he was eligible to receive, which will give the Knicks greater cap flexibility.
Tony, Jalen Brunson's agent is a guy named Sam Rose. Sam Rose's father is a guy named Leon Rose. Leon Rose is the president of the Knicks. There is some incestuousness here that has resulted in a massive, massive team-building salary cap advantage. It's remarkable, actually, what just happened.
On that note, we got to go quick to the big finish. Zach Edey back on the court in Summer League against the Kings. Are you intrigued?
A 7-foot Asian, I am in. Paul Skeens will start the All-Star game for the National League. Wasn't that Wilbon's idea?
No, it wasn't. It was my idea. No, the kid is a phenom. Kyle Lowry signed a one-year deal to return to the Sixers. Is that significant?
Yeah, we need bodies. We need them cheap. Jason Kelsey won the long drive contest at the American Century Championship. Are you surprised?
No, he's 6'3", and even if he's lost a bunch of weight, he's 250. His brother won it last year. Runs in the family. Last one. The Major League Baseball draft starts Sunday. Break it down for us, Pablo.
Oh, yeah, here we go. Can I do like more art history, actually? I think I got some more Renaissance painting references, a PTI maybe. All I got is, I hope there's a mustache like Paul Skeens this time. That was fun last year.
Did you just mention the PTI? Really? Did you do that?
Yeah.
We're out of time. We'll try and do better the next time. Marty West, happy birthday tomorrow.
And I'm Pablo Torre. Thank you for watching. This is my show, Pablo Torre Finds Out. But for now, here's SportsCenter.
Wait, this is my show, and I don't have a sign. How come I don't have a sign that says this is my show?
Splinker. It's the hybrid split finger fastball and the sinker. What was it like the first time you learned that pitch?
It was kind of just like I took a step back and I was just like, whoa, that was different. Because it felt different, came off my fingers different, it moved different, all that. And it was really cool. And I was just like, all right, I'm going to try to keep doing that. And that was kind of how I came up with it. I was just playing around and figured that it would be good enough to throw in a game, and here we are.
How long did it take for you to get a feel for it? Because you're messing around with this pitch in just over a year, getting ready for Major League hitters.
Yeah, I mean, once you get the action of it, I think in terms of just pitch design in general with any type of pitch, once you get the action of it, then it's a matter of getting the command over it. And so it took a little bit to get comfortable with it and be able to throw it in different counts and different situations to both lefty and righty hitters. But yeah, it took some time and got pretty comfortable with it.
Well, you look comfortable. The batters look uncomfortable. In the last year, you've been a College World Series champ, the #1 overall pick, dating one of the most famous college athletes in Livy Dunn, and now you're the All-Star Game starter. How would you describe the last 12 months?
I mean, looking back, at the last 12 months, it feels like it's gone. It feels really recent that the draft happened and the College World Series and all that. But it also, feels like it's gone quickly, but it feels like it's been a while too. It's kind of interesting, but I think just staying present in it, taking it one day at a time, kind of allows you to do that.
You're doing a great job staying grounded.